People have a tendency to bleach out idiosyncrasy.
Yes.
I wonder why this is Morrissey.
It's because they don't know what makes them so interesting and special. They actually don't know. Other people do, but they don't know. They have to be told.
Do you think that's true about yourself?
No, just everybody else.
Just everybody else.
Not me.
Don't you think aren't there things about your character that you lament that other people might see as defining?
Well, I wish I was much taller.
Really?
No. You're so gullible.
Yeah, I am. This is a difficult position for me because I'm like not many people, no one in fact, else that I would have a tendency to fawn over. Were Peter Cook alive, I would be vulnerable to that.
Yeah.
But aside from that, there's no one, and
you mentioned your heroes on the show.
Yeah, and
I was quite surprised.
Well, Chris Morris, Vic Reeves, and Jonathan Ross I just mentioned for the joke because it was funny because that was true. I did send him.
But he's very clever.
He is a very clever man.
Very clever, I think.
He's a brilliant broadcaster. I noticed, like, I watched you when you were on Jonathan Ross's programme, and I always feel that is not an ideal environment for you. You don't seem particularly...
Not really, because when you do television like that, as soon as you walk onto the set, you have to spring a bit, and you have to walk a bit taller, and you have to sort of bounce a little bit. And I'm not very good at that.
Why is this?
Why is this? It's because I'm incurably not natural. That's not the word, but the word is Jennifer. What's the word? Oh, Jennifer.
You can't just expect Jennifer to have access to your vocabulary.
She's wearing a white coat. She should know.
Jennifer, that white coat denotes absolutely nothing. It's as if you've no professionalism. Morrissey was groping for a word, and you offered naught.
See, Jennifer, the woman in white. I think it's because I'm just a very, very, very natural person.
Okay, but the first time I saw you perform, I was struck.
I don't perform. Seals perform, unfortunately.
Seals, what is it then? What is the verb that we use to describe what you do as a job?
Appear live.
Well, first time I see you appear live, I was struck by... I thought that you had... because I'm
normally a corpse, of course.
No, but I thought that... What I thought was that you'd be more slight, and sort of like fey.
Yes,
whereas you are quite sturdy and heroic.
Well, yes, I mean, this is something I've been trying to tell the world for years and years, because often people mimic me. And it's this character that died many years ago, this very fey sort of person who was almost dead in the bath.
Why do you think people cling to that caricature
because it was the first way that they were introduced to me, I think, and it just locks into people's brains, and people think that you're incapable of change.
Does that feel restrictive?
Yes, it really annoys me. It really annoys me, because although I have a very poetic instinct, I'm not permanently lying on the floor covered in what's the word, Jennifer?
Stop making Jennifer do your interview. Jennifer is here. There is a lady called Jennifer here who it now seems, as a job, has to cater to Morrissey's innermost thoughts.
But she hasn't so far.
Jennifer, frankly, you've been awful in this interview. Morrissey, you've been a joy. You, Jennifer, should be shot like a dog.
But as for you, of course...
Yes.
I mean, you're taking the whole thing further and farther. Not as in paternal.
No.
But you realise that, don't you?
What thing am I taking further?
This whole strange comedy thing and television thing and comedy's peculiarity and idiosyncratic insanity. I mean, it's this far, and now you're taking it that far.
Really?
Which is very, very good. I mean, you should be very pleased with yourself.
Thank you very much.
Are you?
Yes, I am, actually. One thing I learned from you was that you oughtn't, like, if you admire somebody, with you, I thought, I read somewhere about you, so this isn't an original thought, that you are a new archetype, whereas Eminem is another version of Elvis, and, Oasis are really derived from the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, or however you want to regard it. That you're a new archetype, and what that made me think is, you must be truthful to yourself and celebrate what you are, and then the mundane can become heroic, the seemingly weak can become heroic. What do you reckon about that for a bit of analysis?
I think you probably sat up all night rehearsing that speech.
I never. I just said that straight out of my brain.
Well, that's very impressive.
I didn't, Morrissey. I just said it. I've not had the opportunity to rehearse this. There's no point rehearsing an interview with you. You could just wander off at any moment. There's no point in assuming you'll do it.
So you're not related to Joe Brand?
I'm not related to Joe Brand.
You're not an identical twin?
How dare you? I'm sat here as dashing as I could possibly be, as seductive as I could be seated. Although Joe Brand is a lovely woman.
She is fantastic. Very, very clever.
No, I'm not.
Comedy and cookery I usually try and avoid watching. But she is very, very good.
Who else? Who do you admire currently, musically, and
nobody.
Cross culture? No one. Don't think anyone's any good.
No.
What was it? It ended at Sandy Shore, New York Dolls. Yeah.
Christine Young, a singer that you don't know.
Okay.
But you'll play this tonight.
We'll play it tonight on the Radio 2 show.
Yes, you'll play it on your show, and your life will change.
Okay, thank you.
So she is.
Why? What's so good about her?
Incredible voice, completely original, and an absolute artist. Great songs. I mean, these things don't really happen anymore in music. They just don't.
Really? What great songs, incredible artists? That's not prevalent in music today?
No.
Why? What's going on?
Oh, well, don't ask me.
Why not?
It's just a statement of fact.
I need to ask you.
I'm simply observing.
Yeah.
I don't know why this is the case, but songs, singers.
Okay. You described Morrissey as an artist. What are the things that define an artist?
Somebody who is on a course. And they're unstoppable, and they live or die by what they do, and they can't be moulded, and they can't be controlled, and they can't be directed, and which is, you'll be very surprised to hear this, is how you are.
Thank you. What an extraordinary compliment. That's very kind of you.
Well.
Another thing, these are some things that I've always thought about. This is one thing I love. So when asked the question, I can't remember by what magazine, what is the best bit of advice you've ever been given? You responded, watch what you're doing with them effing flowers backstage at Top of the Pops from Paul Weller. Yeah. I like that joke.
Well, it was a joke.
Yeah, I assumed as much. This is what is difficult with you, because all the cliche of you as some perpetual miserablist, no one, I think, who understands you as ever, or understands your work, has ever bought into, because it seems to me you're dead funny all the time.
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
I wake up, I look in the mirror, and I just laugh hysterically.
You giggle your way through the day.
I can't stop giggling all day. Well, I think most people are very, very drab. And I think most people in music are really drab. And most songs are drab. And nobody has any spark of originality or individualism. So I'm not saying that I do, but, well, I am really.
Why do you think this is? Because this is a culture that represses those, oppresses...
No, I just think because most people are pretty boring anyway. They really are.
Essentially, you think?
Yes,
essential
I
cause?
do. I think most people are pretty drab.
Oh, Morrissey, don't you think there's a beauty at people's...
No.
Oh, Morrissey,
I think the human race is very, very, very overrated.
Really?
Yes.
So you think we're spectacular, wonderful beings, part divine, part animal?
Many of them are no longer with us. And those who are with us I've not met.
Morrissey, what things are you gonna... Those people that... Oi, I'm one of them people.
See, you know how the head begins to swell?
Oh, do you think I'm...
Just one compliment and then it's...
It's affected me.
Your hair will be even larger next week.
Where is there left for me to go in terms of me barnet? There's no mountains left to climb.
However, I don't like Jamie Oliver.
Why is this?
Because every day of his life he kills things. Kill. So I don't like Jamie Oliver.
On the basis of his carnivorous nature?
I think he's very, very nasty.
You're still very militant about your vegetarianism then?
Well, I'm not vegetarian.
What are you now, vegan? What?
No, I'm neither of those things. I just don't eat animals.
Yeah.
I don't eat anything that's lived.
Yeah.
I don't bring a life to end simply because I'm slightly peckish. So, I'm not vegetarian in the sense that elaborate vegetarian dishes I don't really care for. I mean, I'm still very much chocolate and crisps.
Chocolate and crisps? You're just going through like guzzling chocolate and crisps?
Well, I don't guzzle.
Alright, then
I mean,
daintily popping them in your gob.
I'm not from Romford, you know.
I'm from near there, Graves I'm from.
That's why I said that. He's catching on, Jennifer.
Well, it's nice that you've got through the last 7 minutes without having to consult Jennifer to unwire your own brain.
Well, we're a double act.
Which is lovely. It seems to me she is carrying the cerebral burden in this double act. Morrissey.
Yes.
Sir, what things will you do then in the future?
In the future, I don't really look to the future.
Why?
Why? Because I don't think there's much point. I could be run over by a horse tomorrow.
That's unlikely. They can't drive for a start.
Yes, well, there's always a first time.
Oh, crikey. One became Pope once, so one driving, I suppose, is a sideways step, if anything.
See? So anything could happen to me tomorrow, so I don't really plan. I just take life 1 minute at a time.
Morrissey, are you happier as an older man than you was as a young man?
I am still young. Look closer.
Well, you're very dashing. I'm not criticising you aesthetically.
Young. I have a very young spirit, I think.
Okay, but it seems to me that you've changed, like, from, in your earlier work.
But you didn't know me then, you see, as a human being. You just simply read The Bunty or something, and thought, oh, this is what he's really like.
Yeah.
So the first comedian that really made you guffaw was...
Well, maybe Billy Connolly, but like Peter Cook is the sort of the beacon to, you know, that guides me.
The beacon, yeah.
Yeah, as it were. And like Richard Pryor, sort of.
Well, your hand gestures are a bit Peter Cook.
Are they?
Yeah.
Ah, good.
But you knew that, really.
Well, I suppose so. Yeah, it's an affectation. Yes. It's a learned behaviour.
Because he was always pointing to something that was slightly left of centre.
Yes, well, right. Cerebrally and artistically, you were always pointing to the left of centre. Yes, I suppose he was.
Yeah.
Guess what I do and all? I swish microphone cables about in an onstage homage to you.
Well, that's really nice.
Thanks.
That's really nice.
I thought you should know. Guess what? I've got to ask you lots more, like as many more questions as you yourself will permit, because otherwise people will go, you interviewed Morrissey and you didn't shut up. But it's nerves a little bit.
Yeah.
So come on, let's ask some actual proper questions.
So you do actually have nerves occasionally?
I do, yeah.
Well, then why do you do it then? I mean, why do you walk on and take all this on and all these people and all this insanity? I mean, surely you think there's an easier life and you could go back to Romford or Grays or Chelmsford and just be I don't know, a homeless person.
I mean, it's an attractive option, Morrissey.
Well, it's in the future.
I look forward to sleeping by some bins in Basildon in the future. I suppose because it's the only thing that makes me happy. It's the only time that life... So I find life a bit of a pain in the arse and a bit difficult. And like when I'm performing, it makes... I think it's manageable. I think it's beautiful. I'm released from myself. I feel unshackled and I feel part of a larger whole.
And how many CSEs did you get at school?
I was not rewarded any CSEs. So
O-levels?
I got 4 GCSEs actually.
What, a secondary modern failure?
I went to a comprehensive school. Things didn't go well, Morrissey. I didn't fit in. It were a difficult time, not only for them, for me.
Yes.
What about you? You were a qualified man.
Not really. I mean, a smattering of O-levels, but nothing that would impress anybody.
Yeah. No. I don't suppose it's ever been particularly relevant.
I don't think it's relevant to anybody. I just don't. I mean, is it relevant? Was it relevant to Diana Spencer?
No.
Her little 2 O-levels?
No, I suppose not.
Did it stop her?
No, she did quite well, as I recall.
She did quite well, but maybe she'd be still alive if she got that 3rd O-level.
That 3rd O-level could have given her a few more months at the very least.
Yes.
I would imagine.
Yes.
So, Morrissey... are you going to continue making us music and performing and everything?
Well, I don't perform.
Oh, right, to appear live. What's your problem with that verb? Because it was an affective, because of innocent application.
It sounds as if I'm there with a hat and a cane and I'm skipping and then, the lights go down and I turn into an incredibly drab person. So it's not a performance.
Yeah.
It's not a performance. It's not something I've concocted. But back to the question, which...
it was, were you carrying on doing this for the foreseeable future?
How can anybody possibly know? I mean, I could have a wooden leg next week. So how come you're on this station and not another station.
What, BBC Radio 2? Because the adventurous controller of BBC Radio 2, Leslie Douglas, thought that she thinks I'm good because,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
she's like, and she thinks it'd be innovative
Yes.
to have me on the station.
Yes. And your favourite DJ of all time is?
I don't know if I really have one, really. It's not...
Anybody you ever listen to obsessively and...
No.
No?
No, there is not. There are not any. Like, I grew up watching TV. I was raised by television, in particular, to tell you the truth.
But you were a problem child.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. And that's all over now.
Do you think so?
No, that was a question.
Oh, well, I mean, sometimes it's difficult to relinquish. Sometimes it's hard to let go of those problems, the things that define you.
Yes.
Don't you find that?
Yes, I do. I think the child stays within us. And that's quite nice, really. I mean, it's embarrassing when you're 28, 29, 30, but then when you're beyond the 40 threshold, you think it's very nice. And you're quite happy to be as you are. And you reach a take it or leave it stage. Take me or leave me stage. And that's where I am.
So you have accepted yourself?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad that you have. Are you living in Europe still?
Still in Europe. I live just anywhere.
What,
Jennifer, where do I live?
The first contribution Jennifer's made to this interview is to utter the word nowhere.
Yes, I think you should put heavy reverb on that.
And will sound like an address from the Lord himself by the time we finish with it.
Yes.
It will sound like an enunciation from Mount Sinai.
If you have a bad dream, that word will be in it. So what do you watch on television?
Well, I like American comedy, like Curb Your Enthusiasm, stuff like that. I like Jonathan Ross's television programme. Mostly
He's
comedy.
not American.
Well, okay, you've pointed out an obvious flaw in my argument. Arrested Development. What do you watch on television?
Not that much, really.
Why?
Why? Because I think most of it is terrible.
Think it's what's wrong with it?
I don't know. I quite like Emmerdale sometimes.
What do you like Emmerdale for?
Well, it's brief, and you don't really have to think too much.
Right, so it's just easily accessible.
Did you ever see when you were really small, in the early 80s, about 80, 81, Wood and Walters?
I know. Oh, Victoria Wood. Yeah.
But before she was as seen on TV and Victoria Wood and blah 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 blah, she was Wood and Walters.
I have.
Did you ever see
those?
But did you ever see those? There was about 12 episodes.
I don't recall them, Morrissey.
Very, very, very revolutionary.
Why?
Because I think they changed British comedy completely for not just for women, but for men as well.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, because they were completely different, very intelligent, and it seemed to be a different kind of humour that hadn't been on television before. A different way of thinking, a different way of telling a joke, and a different way of being silly. And so she was very, very unique, I thought. And that programme, that show, however you wish to term it, I think changed everything.
Victoria Wood is she reminds me of her writing, at least reminds me of Alan Bennett's writing.
Oh yeah, well she was hugely influenced by him.
Yeah.
And I mean, did you see his plays in the late 70s on television? I mean, I know you were really tiny and you were running around listening to Mud, etc. But did you see the early Alan Bennett stuff?
What sort of thing?
I'm Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Say Something Happened.
No.
Very, very original, very funny, very northern, very deadpan, gallows humour.
Why are you drawn to that sort of stuff?
Because I'm northern.
Yeah.
I was born in central Manchester, and so I understand the whole idea of lack of choice and the humour in lack of choice.
Lack of choice?
Yeah, in everything. And I think it brings out the best of the worst.
What do you mean by this lack of choice, Morrissey?
Well, think about it. Manchester, the 60s, the 70s. I mean, it really is. In Manchester, it really still was 1945. and there wasn't much hope for people. And that's why so much interesting music has come from Manchester.
Right.
Because you're forced inwards. You don't go to the beach, you don't ski, you don't do anything dramatic or glamorous, and there's no such thing as money, and there's hardly jobs around, and you don't want to do jobs anyway. So you're forced inwards, and it brings out the best of you.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's the situation under which you grew up and your work was developed.
That's the stamp across this face that you're glaring into.
So it's a marvellous stamp, if I may say.
Well, you know.
How come then that you was so is that why you were drawn to New York Dolls and things like that?
Well, I was drawn to them because the songs were fantastic, and at that period in 1973 they were just like a bolt out of hell. They were the most peculiar thing that anybody had ever seen. We're all very used to glamorous musicians now, and people with wild hair and so forth, but they were the most extreme thing that ever happened in music. And that was for me.
Right, so what did that mean to you in Manchester?
Because they were very tough, but they had this this almost genderless appearance, and they absolutely did not care about anything, and they were very, very funny.
Right, how? Where was the humour?
The humour was in the interviews. They absolutely just didn't care about anything. And they almost didn't care if they were successful. And most of them didn't care if they lived much longer, and they didn't. So it was a very reckless abandon, which I loved.
The nihilism, then?
Yes, and they weren't trying to impress anybody.
But for you, it seems that, like in the situation you described in Manchester growing up, that like meaning would have been something that you would have embraced. So it's interesting to me that the nihilism of the New York Dolls attracted
Well, I
you.
think they had so much meaning. There was so much depth, so much character. Everything about them was interesting. Their names, the way they looked, what they were trying to do. And just the name of the group alone, the New York Dolls, just sounded so incredibly important.
Yes.
And you won't remember 1973.
No.
You really won't, do you?
No, I do not. Carl,
No.
it's not alive.
Well, it was Jennifer doesn't remember either, but...
There's no point listening to her. She wouldn't be no bloody help. I've give up on her. I forgot she was here, Morrissey, to tell you the truth.
Well, it was... He likes you, Jennifer.
That were a joke to appeal to Morrissey.
He likes you. Incredibly barren times. I mean, it was still 1967, and everybody was as boring as hell. And suddenly there was this flash of transgender noise, and it was fantastic. Very, very witty.
Yes.
And the lyrics were great as well.
Okay, but do you think then that does art have an obligation to attain or issue any higher meaning other than that in which it, other than it,
I think
its
what
itself?
makes any kind of art interesting is that it has no obligation to anything. It's just existing there, and you find it or you don't. And when you find it, you discover for yourself what it has. But art doesn't stand in front of you and say, "Hello, I'm art," and you must look at me this way. And what's the next step?
Just carry on doing stand-up, make films.
No. Make films?
Make films.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and go to America, make films there.
Yeah, and why America?
Because America, like if Jazz John Lennon said if you lived in Roman times, you'd want to live in Rome. So if you like now, that's where the cultural hub. And I think that art does have an obligation to change the world, and in fact to change things ultimately, and to show, to be, I don't know, to innovate and to inspire. And I don't think, and as you say, like, you know, art, don't have to go, hello, I'm art. Would you put the kettle on? I've popped around. But I think it should go, I'm art, I'm kicking the doors in, let's all change and have it off in the vestry.
Well, very eloquently put. I mean, I could almost be listening to Shakespeare, I think. I mean, art is always in people's minds a very youthful thing.
Yes.
Art is never an old crusty thing.
Why?
I don't know, because it's art. But really, as I was trying to say before, how do we determine if something is art? I mean, there's so many things hanging in the Tate, which are disgusting and horrible, but somehow they're classified as art. And there are many people in the world who consider themselves to be artists, and they're absolutely atrociously, pointlessly horrible and should be beheaded in a public auditorium. So art is in the eye, ear of the beholder.
I reckon that art is where you taste divinity, when you feel God, when you transcend the self and find a higher meaning.
Well, very nicely put, but you're wrong.
Why? What is it then?
I don't know.
Well,
Look, you're just wrong.
You can't
Accept it, live with it, move on, face love.
Morrissey, thank you very much. Let's, before you clear off to watch that Umbrella cliffhanger on Emmerdale, well, let's plug these things of yours. Ringleader of the Tormentors, that's been out ages. Why people will already have that, won't they? There's no point plugging that.
They could buy it twice.
Buy it twice? What kind of, consume properly, for Christ's sake.
Exactly.
Right, okay, and when's, just want to see the boy happy, when's that out?
It's out on Monday.
That's out on Monday?
Yeah.
Get it then. But singles, people don't buy singles anymore, do they? Download things.
Yeah, they do, but I mean, some people do because charts still exist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some people are buying something.
Someone's out there buying something.
I know, it's an ever-changing world.
The world, change is the only thing that's constant, I suppose. Morrissey, you're off on this tour. What's this going on in Mexico? How come they're so obsessed? What are you touching in Mexican people?
Touching Mexican people. I knew you'd accuse me of something. Would you really like an answer?
Yeah, I do, because I don't understand what it is in your music that reaches out to that some odd, or a very particular subculture.
Have you been to Mexico?
No.
Well, the passion in the people. They are beautiful people, full of passion, and full of great rhythm and movement and emotion, and that is the connection.
The rhythm, passion. Okay, let's talk about these UK dates. You can see Morrissey on December the 4th, December the 5th, December the 7th, December the 8th, December the 22nd, December the 23rd. Glasgow, Newcastle, all over the country. There must be some website people can look at with Morrissey.
Probably.
You don't know things like that. If people want to go, your gigs they'll just sell out anyway because of your obsessive fan base. Do you feel integrated with your fans?
Well, I don't consider them to be fans.
What do you consider them to be?
Well, because fans is a horribly demeaning word.
Fanatic.
And often I've been interviewed in the press and I've spoken about the audience, and they always print the term "my fans" or "the fans," and I don't know why. They won't print the audience.
It's succinct, isn't it? Tabloids are all about. That's why you have words like "topped." You know, it's less syllables than children.
It's a matter of reducing everything because they assume that everybody's out there who reads anything is a blithering idiot.
Yes, and then sort of contribute to people becoming blithering idiots by lowering the standards of the world.
Yes, you and I know.
Ah, yes, we know this, Morrissey. We know this to be true. I'm going to come and see you. I'll come and see you in London.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I'll have extra security.
No, don't! Let me come and say, if I meet you again, Morrissey, in an off-air situation, am I entitled to go, all right, and come and say hello to you, or will I be
Not really.
Oh, go on!
I don't know. I'll think about it.
Don't be... Please, if we've signed all these things, David Walliams wants one signed. I want one. Can I have things?
Can I have things?
Can I have things? Objects. They'll make me happy. I've been given things. Will you sign me something? I've never asked anyone for an autograph, ever.
Really? Danny LaRue?
Marco van Basten, the Dutch footballer. Once, but other than that, nobody. But we do, I mean, I don't know how good this will be as radio, but we will sign something for me. Will you sign that for me, Morrissey?
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much.
And your name is?
I'm called Russell. I'm a big fan. Oh, sorry. I don't mean to use the word fan. I'm a member of your audience.
What do you mean when I appear live?
Yeah, when you appear live. Heaven forbid you should do anything as lowly as perform. Oh, that'd be beneath you.
So let me get this straight. You're not Joe Brand.
I'm not Joe Brand.
No.
Lovely though she is, I ain't her. I'm Russell Brand. I'm your fan.
Yes.
The audience member.
Extraordinary. So I'm just going to sign this, which is compulsive radio, of course.
Yes. Morrissey is now writing with he's using his Morrissey hand to write his name across a disc.
Well, I can't use Jennifer's hand, can I?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. We've been trying to use her brain throughout the interview. Okay, thank you very much. I'm really happy. It's been such a joy to meet you. I must say I'm thrilled, and it was something that retrospectively I'm sure I'll have a sob about the whole experience, particularly the bits where you were quite offensive.
Really?
No, you were lovely throughout.
I know.
Thank you so much. It's lovely talking to you. I mean, it's a radio interview, but I still feel... can't I end it by cuddling you, or will that seem overly aggressive?
But how will anybody know it took place?
Well, I don't know. I'll make I'll go, oh... I'll do a sound
effect. That could be an Emmerdale sound effect.
No, they will taste the authenticity. The audience of the show will know it's not a performance. Come on. Morrissey's now rising up onto his hindquarters.
I have no choice.
Thank you, Morrissey.